Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into a story from the Bible that you might not know, from Genesis chapter 38.
Yeah, a lot of people skip over this chapter, but it's actually got a lot of drama and twists and turns.
Yeah, no, I was
There's some
really
nice.
stressed when I first read it. I was like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's a story about family and ancient customs and some tough moral questions that might surprise you. It's kind of hidden.
Yeah, kind of hidden in the middle of this bigger story by Joseph and his brothers.
Right, exactly. But this one, it stands on its own,
Yeah.
and it's full of this crazy family drama.
So the main guy in the story is Judah, one of Jacob's sons.
One of the patriarchs.
Yeah, the patriarch. So we're talking about like the foundation of the Israelite lineage.
Right.
So Judah marries this Canaanite woman named Shua,
Okay.
and they have these three sons,
Yeah.
or Onan and Shelah.
Three sons, yeah.
So you think, okay, this is like a hacky family,
A good start.
good start, right?
Yeah, well, not so fast.
Not so fast.
Tragedy hits the family when the oldest son, dies.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting because we're introduced to this ancient custom called liverate marriage.
Okay, I've heard of this, but explain it.
So basically, if a man dies without an heir, his brother has to marry the widow
Okay.
to have a child that's considered the heir of the dead brother.
Okay, to carry on the family line.
Exactly. It was all about preserving those family lines,
Yeah.
and keeping property within the family.
Wow. So different from today.
Totally different world back then.
Totally different. So in this situation, Onan, the second son,
Right.
is supposed to marry Tamar's widow.
Yeah, he's got to step up and fulfill this duty.
Right, but he doesn't exactly jump at the chance, does he?
He's not thrilled about it, to say the least.
Yeah, the text actually says that Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and when he was with Tamar, he spilled it on the ground.
Right. And we get the word onanism from this.
Oh, wow.
But it's more than just a word. It's a serious transgression.
Yeah, definitely. Why would he do that?
Well, he obviously didn't like the arrangement.
Yeah, but you said transgression, so there's got to be more to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a personal choice. It really impacted the whole social fabric.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
Sure. So back then, lineage and inheritance were everything right. Think of it like a tapestry. Each family is a thread, and they all have to be woven together to make the pattern.
Yeah, to make the community.
Exactly.
Mm.
Onan's actions, they threaten to unravel that tapestry.
Oh, so he's not just saying, I don't want to do this.
He's messing with the whole system.
Wow, okay.
Hey.
So what happens to Onan?
Well, let's just say defying God's plan had consequences for him.
Okay, so does Judah then try to get his third son, Shelah, to marry Tamar?
He does. He promises Tamar she'll marry Shelah
Okay.
when he's older. But years pass, and Judah doesn't keep his word.
Oh, wow. So Tamar is stuck.
Yeah, she's a widow, no kids, no security.
That's a tough situation, especially back then.
Really tough. So Tamar decides to take matters into her own hands.
Oh, this is where it gets good.
Right. She finds out Judah is going to Timnah for sheep shearing, and she comes up with this bold plan.
Okay, what does she do?
She disguises herself as a prostitute, veils her face, and waits for him along the road.
No way. It's like a spy movie or something.
I know, right? She was really desperate.
Yeah, she's taking a huge risk here. What do you think she was thinking?
You can only imagine the emotion she was feeling,
Mhm.
Desperation, but also this determination to get what she deserved.
Yeah, she was really in a tough spot.
And remember, in that society, a woman's worth was often tied to having children.
So being childless.
Was a big problem.
So Judah sees her and he has no idea who she is.
Right. He's completely fooled by the disguise.
So what happens?
Well, he propositions her, and Tamar agrees, but she's smart.
Okay.
She demands a pledge for payment.
A pledge. Like what?
His signet bracelets and staff.
Wow, those are important.
Oh, yeah. Those are symbols of his authority and identity. Like a fingerprint or a signature today.
So she's not messing around.
Nope, she's playing for keeps.
So of course she gets pregnant.
Right. And when Judah finds out, he's furious.
Understandable.
He thinks she's been with another man, while she's supposed to be waiting for Shelah.
Right? So he condemns her to death.
Yeah, it was a serious offense back then.
But then this story takes this crazy turn.
It does. As they're taking Tamar to be punished,
Yeah.
she sends a message to Judah.
A message? Like what?
She says, "By the man whose these are am I with child." And she sends him the signet bracelets and staff.
Oh my gosh, it's like a courtroom drama.
Right. The evidence is revealed, and Jude is completely exposed.
He can't deny it.
Nope. He has to admit his own hypocrisy, and acknowledge his role in the whole thing.
What does he say?
He says, "She hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son."
Wow. So he goes from wanting her dead to admitting his own fault.
It's a powerful moment of self-reflection.
It really is.
So Tamar gives birth to twin boys,
Yes. Perez and Zara.
and even their birth is dramatic.
Oh, yeah, it's full of these interesting details. One of them, Zara puts his hand out first.
Okay.
So the midwife ties a scarlet thread around his wrist to mark him as the firstborn.
Okay.
But then he pulls his hand back in, and Perez is born first.
Wait a minute, a scarlet thread and a hand coming out, then going back in. That sounds so symbolic.
Yeah, those details are not just random. They're pointing to something deeper.
Like what?
It's like there's a higher power at work, orchestrating these events in ways we might not fully understand.
That's fascinating.
But to understand it better, we need to keep going with our deep dive.
Okay, you've got me hooked.
Yeah.
What about these twins? And what's the deal with this scarlet thread?
Well, stay tuned because in the next part, we'll unravel the meaning of these twins and how their story connects to the bigger picture of the Bible.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Genesis chapter 38. Last time we were talking about Tamar giving birth to twins Perez and Zara and that mysterious scarlet thread.
Yeah, it's a detail that really sticks with you, isn't it?
It does. So remind me, what's the significance of that thread? Like, why is it such a big deal?
Well, it really points to this idea of divine providence. The idea that God is working behind the scenes even when we can't see it, even in messy situations like this one.
Exactly. Even in situations that we might think are just random or chaotic.
So are you saying that these twins are something connected to God's plan?
Oh, absolutely. Remember, this story isn't just some isolated family drama. It's part of a much bigger story.
The story of Israel.
Right, and ultimately the story of Jesus.
Wait, are you telling me that these twins born out of this crazy situation are connected to Jesus?
If you look at the genealogy of Jesus in the book of Matthew, it traces his line all the way back through King David.
Okay.
And guess who shows up in that lineage?
Perez.
Perez.
No way. So this story in Genesis, it's not just some random side story. It's actually
So it's woven into the fabric of salvation history.
That's amazing. So God's plan was working even through this complicated situation.
Exactly. And it shows that God can work through anyone and anything, even situations that we might see as morally wrong.
So what happens to Tamar after all this?
The text doesn't say much about her life after the twins are born. But we do know that Judah acknowledges her righteousness. He basically admits that she was right to do what she did.
That's pretty huge considering she could have been killed.
Right, she was vindicated in the end, even though she had to go to extreme lengths to get there.
I'm thinking about how Judah, this powerful man, he's the one who is ultimately in the wrong.
Yeah.
And Tamar, who seems like she's breaking all the rules, she's the one who is declared righteous.
It's a powerful reversal of expectations.
It really is. So what does this story teach us about morality? Like, it seems like everything is kind of flipped on its head.
Well, it definitely challenges our assumptions about who holds moral authority. And it makes us rethink Tamar's actions.
Okay.
It's like what she did might seem deceptive to us today.
Yeah, tricking Judah like that.
Right, but she was operating within a very different cultural context.
So we can't judge her by today's standards.
Exactly. She was trying to secure her future and fulfill this obligation that was denied to her.
That makes sense. So what are some of the key takeaways from this story? It's a pretty wild ride with all the twists and turns.
Well, one thing that stands out to me is the complexity of human relationships.
Okay.
This story forces us to think about justice, mercy, family dynamics, and even divine intervention.
Yeah, it's not a simple story with easy answers.
Not at all. And that's probably why it's resonated with people for thousands of years.
I keep coming back to this idea of divine intervention. The scarlet thread, the twins' birth. It's like God is orchestrating everything.
It does make you wonder if maybe there's a bigger plan at work in our own lives, even when we can't see it.
That's a powerful thought. Before we wrap up, I want to go back to the genealogy of Jesus. We talked about how Perez is in his lineage. What about Zara? Does he play a role in the biblical narrative?
That's a great question. It's easy to forget about Zara since his brother is the one directly linked to Jesus.
Right.
But actually, his descendants become pretty important in the story of Israel.
Okay, so.
Well, we'll have to save that for the next part.
Yeah.
But I promise it's just as fascinating as the rest of this story.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
We'll uncover the mystery of Zara and his descendants in just a bit.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Genesis chapter 38. And I'm ready to hear about Zara. What's the story with his descendants?
Okay, so remember how Perez's line leads to King David and eventually to Jesus?
Yeah.
Well, Zara's descendants, They become this clan called the
Which
Zerahites,
is Zerahites. Okay.
and they were known for their skills in weaving and craftsmanship.
Wait a minute. The twin who almost came out first but then pulled his hand back,
Uh-huh.
and his descendants are known for their handiwork.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, it
Like,
makes you think.
yeah, it's like there's got to be some deeper meaning there.
It could be a reminder that even those who aren't in the direct line of kingship,
Right.
they still have an important role to play in God's plan.
Like everyone has a unique contribution to make.
Exactly. Not everyone is meant to be a king or a prophet, but everyone has their own gifts and talents.
That's a great point. So the Zerahites with their craftsmanship, they're kind of like,
They're representing the importance of human skill and creativity.
yeah, like they're adding beauty and function to the world.
It's exactly. Even though they're not the ones in political power or leading armies.
So this story, it's not just about the big names like Judah and Tamar and Perez.
It's about everyone.
It's about the value of every human life.
Right. Even those who might be seen as less important or who come from unconventional backgrounds.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It's amazing how much we can learn from just one chapter of the Bible.
Yeah, we started with this hidden story in Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
and we ended up talking about justice, mercy, divine providence, the meaning of life.
It's all connected.
It really is. So as we wrap up, what's one thing you hope our listener will take away from this episode?
I'd say it's this. Don't underestimate the power of hidden stories. Sometimes the most unexpected places hold the most profound truths.
That's so true. So to our listener, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and you'll be amazed at what you discover.
And don't forget those seemingly minor details. They often hold the key to something much bigger.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.